So last time we were talking about numbers, right? So this is our fourth and the final attributes of nouns that we're studying. And we said the numbers in Arabic, it is categorized in three sets, okay? In the three groups. And the first one is mufrad, which is your singular, simple, right? And we said we have muthanna, which is dual. Okay, so this is what we've been talking about last time, which means exactly two. When we refer to two of anything, is muthanna, and it is not considered plural. For the plural, we have jam'un, which is plural, which starts with three or more. We haven't talked about plural last time. Only thing is we talked about dual, right? Inshallah, today we will do plural. Before I start doing that, I want to do some review of the dual. So what did we say about dual? Duals are very simple, right? I always say that because people think it's complicated. I like to say it's simple. What did we say about dual? Is that how do we make dual? So we have, for example, I want to say aya. Who can tell me what aya means? Ayatun, sign or verse? Verse. So you want to say two verses. So of course we're talking about a verse or a sign. Let's just use one meaning, otherwise it will be confusing. So let's just say a verse. Now I want to say two verses. So what do I do? The rule that we learned, we add alif and nun. Ani, ayatani. Excellent. So that is the rule. The rule is we add alif and nun, ani. So we have ayatani. And we talked about that because we're adding alif right after ta, this alif will force you to put a fatha. Okay, as simple as that. Now it cannot be fatha of tanween, it cannot be double fatha because tanween doesn't come in the middle. So this alif will force you to put a fatha. So that's something that I talked about and you guys understand. So we have ayatani. And we also mentioned that this ta will be changed into your open ta. Ta al marbuta will be changed into ta al maftuha. We understand. Now, we also mentioned that this is your what state. Remember, right now we also have to think a word from different states perspective, right? Whether this word is marfu, is it nominative or accusative or genitive case. So this, what is the state of this word? It is marfu, yes. So the marfu is right now, remember we always been saying the dhamma state, dhamma state. I think this is the time that we start thinking about using either English term or the Arabic terms. So this word is right now in the nominative case or the marfu. The word is marfu in the nominative case. Now, it sounds interesting. Okay, so what does it mean when I say the word is marfu? What does it mean? When we say a word is marfu or is in the nominative case, what can we do with that word? Where can we put this word right now? What are the roles it can play? I think that would be a better question. Yes, so now this word is ready to be in the subject or predicate or the doer. Yes. You see, so right now that's what we're saying. We're saying the word can play a role of a subject, it can play a role of a predicate, it can play a role of the subject of the verb. Make sense? So for example, if we say the two verses are along. Okay, so if from English language perspective, you understand the two verses are subject. This is a subject, along is a predicate. Simple stuff, right? We have two verses already, ayatani. Okay, and now we can make this sentence. What is long? How do we say long in Arabic? Tawilun, yes. Tawilun. And remember, we have two words, طاولة and طويل. طاولة is what? طاولة is table and طويل is long. جيد. So now we can say we have all the words that we need, and inshallah we know all the rules also, the structure of Arabic language. How do we make a sentence? Because just having the words not going to help us here, because we have to use a lot of grammar rules that we know. Now we know the two verses, which is ayatani, and we know how to say long. So let's start with the subject. We want to say the two verses. Well, if we just translate, we have the here, so we have to have alif lam, al ayatani, something that we know that, right? Al ayatan, yes, excellent. Now remember, when we were talking about alif lam, when we were dealing with the singular in the beginning with the tanween, we had to consider a few things, right? When we had the word with tanween, like waladun, or even the word by itself, ayatun. And if we were to add alif lam, what we had to do is drop the tanween, right? Ayatun, al-ayatu. But in dual, we don't have to worry about all of these things, okay? Just simply add alif lam and we're fine, because we don't have a tanween, okay? We don't have a tanween to remove it. So now we have al-ayatani, so it's ready for subject. Okay, it's ready for mubtada because it is, number one, is definite. We know the mubtada is definite, and mubtada is what? Mubtada is also what? Marfu. So we have the marfu state, so it is ready. Now, how do we complete the sentence? The two verses are long. This is something that probably going to be difficult for you guys. So now we want to describe the two verses. Now I'm going to write the word and you fix it. I have طويل. Now you fix it. Give me all the answers, then I'm going to see which one works out. Okay, so I have one answer. Anyone else? Okay, so I have two answers. So everybody's giving me طويلان. Good, but it's a good but. And that's why what you have to do is we have to analyze the things that we learned in the beginning. You thought those are just simple game we're playing. It's a game, all right, if you think of like that, but it's not for no reasons. Because let's analyze this one. This word is definite, right? That's number one. Number two, is this word masculine or feminine? Is ayah masculine or feminine? Feminine, because don't think the tamarbuta is gone. You know, the tamarbuta is gone, yes, but you have to still look at the singular version, which is feminine. Yes, the word is feminine. What is the third attributes we learned? That it is in the nominative case, yes. And the fourth one, that this is, well, now I'll just write two, dual, because we have definite here already. So see, we have all the four attributes. Now we know the conditions of predicate. Predicate follows everything except for what? Except that it is indefinite. So meaning it has to be feminine, it has to be nominative, it has to be dual, except that it is indefinite. So now can someone give me answer by correcting it? So somebody told me Towi Latun. Okay, guys, you have to combine between two and give me the right answer. You give me the two of the things that we need to know, but they have to be all together, because yes, here you got the dual part, right? Yes, it's dual. And here it is feminine. Yes, you got the feminine, because this is not feminine, this is masculine. So now we have to work together. It's not easy. That's why the practice is so important. That's why hearing lecture is one thing and the practicing is another thing. So what would be the answer? It needs to be feminine, it needs to be dual. Tawilatani. Yes, 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 yes. So it would be tawilatani. Excellent. It is indefinite, it is feminine, it is nominative, and it is dual. So now it is your predicate. Excellent. But I'll be honest with you, these are really like a math. You kind of have to do them a few times by yourself. So now how do you say in the two verses? Okay, in the two verses. So in is fi, I'll give you that much. Now the two verses, you give me the two verses. And then inshallah, I will start the new lesson. Yes, yes, excellent. So the thing is, what we learned is because right now we have fi, we know whatever comes, it needs to be in genitive case, right? So majrur. And most of the time, all the time, we knew to make it into majrur is simply by adding kasra, right? Fil masjidi, fil bayti, okay? All of them just add kasra. But we talked about the dual doesn't work that way because as you can see in the marfu state, in the nominative case, it has kasra, you know, tawilani. So what do we do? The way we make it into genitive is by adding ya and nun. Instead of alif and nun, you add ya and nun. So you say al-aya taini. Taini. Okay. And make sure you're very comfortable with the sound because you will see in our today's lesson how it is important. Al-aya taini. So the next thing we have to talk about is the plural. Jam'un is the plural. Okay, so we talked about singular, something we understand, and we also talked about dual, which we've been learning. Now, what is the plural? Plural is simply anything that is three or more, so which includes three, okay? Now, the way they do is they divide the plural, you'll see the plural, they will divide the plural into three different categories. Let me just put it two categories first, and then maybe it will be easy to understand. So they divide into two categories. One of them, they will say broken plural. Another one is sound plural. What is broken plural and what is sound plural? Broken plural, basically they mean that singular word is altered one way or another. One way or another. For example, if you are thinking about English language perspective, you say man. What is the plural of man? You say men with E. So you definitely altered the singular. Singular was with A, well, you change it into E. So this would be considered as a broken plural. In English, fortunately, we don't have too many of these kind of case, but in Arabic, unfortunately, we have most of the plurals are broken. For example, we say bait, baitun. The plural is, anyway, you can use jim for jam, you know, so that you know it's the plural, is buyut. Buyut. Okay. Bait and buyut. Now, as you can see, yes, of course, you're going to have the letters there, but you have changed something. You added wow. The wow wasn't there in the singular. You can also remove what was there. For example, the example sister is giving is kitab. Kitabun, which is a book. The plural is kutub. You literally removed a letter. And sometimes it's even crazier, you know, you add a lot of letters. For example, waladun, you know, the word was very harmless, simple, three letters. The plural turns out to be aw ladun, subhanallah, aw ladun. So how many letters we added? We literally added 2 letters. We added hamza and alif. So that is what we mean by the broken plurals. Basically, your singular is altered. The alteration can be by changing the haraka, or by adding a letter or removing a letter, or doing all of these things together. For example, the word asad, and the plural is usud. So what happened here? You see everything is there. You have hamza, sin, and dal, hamza, sin, and dal, but you change the haraka. You change from fatha into dhamma. Even that is considered broken. Any kind of alteration you do in the singular to make it into plural will be considered broken. And now you can automatically think this is definitely a headache, because not only you have to memorize a word, you also have to memorize its plural. And if you're thinking about, is there any pattern? Simple answer right now is no. There is a pattern, but there's nothing that we can use at this time to have any help, to use any helpful way. Okay, we have to just memorize. Inshallah, from now on, when we find any nouns, I will try to give you the plural as well. Okay, especially, some of the plurals we don't have to know, it doesn't come often, but especially most important ones, I'll give you plural, and you have to memorize them in pairs. Bait, buyut, kitab, kutub, walad, awlad, rajul, rijal. Okay, here's another one you should know. Uh, I'll give you a lot of them, inshallah. Our next vocabs session will focus heavily on the plurals. Okay, so we will start revisiting all the words that we memorize, and we'll start learning about the plurals. Okay, rajulun, rajulun, and then plural is rijalun. Make sense, guys? Now, so what is sound then? You feel some hope, right? Maybe there's some hope. You kind of feeling like maybe this is going to be a good one. Yes, it is good one. Sound means kind of similar to what we have in English, where we have the mufrad, we have the singular, and we just add something to it to make it into plural. Boy, boys. Book, books. What is one with es? Okay, good. Box, boxes. Excellent. As you can see, so what's happening is all we do is add s and es. That is the majority of the time. So do we have something like that in Arabic? Apparently we do, because we have something called sound plural. So sound plural, it further divides into two types. One is masculine and one is feminine. Masculine and feminine. Okay, so you'll see why they're divided, because we make them plural in two different ways. For masculine, we add waw and noon. Una. We say una, waw and noon. So that means when we have a word, we simply add waw and noon to make it into a plural. So for example, the singular is Muslim, Muslimun. And what do? We add waw and noon. Muslimun plus waw and noon. We say Muslimuna. Muslimuna. So as you can see, your Muslim, the word is exactly the way it is, without any change. Now you might be worrying about the ending. Well, I already explained to you that at the end, in the middle, we cannot have tanween. So we remove the tanween, and then that's it. We just remove the tanween. So we said Muslimuna. In this situation, we don't have to do anything else. The other time we had to change from Dhamma into Fatha because of Alif. Here we don't have to do anything. Because one of the things you'll know, I think I mentioned a few times, long vowels and the short vowels that we know, they usually like to come in pair. Meaning, if we have Alif, they want Fatha before. And this is a must. But here, this is not must. If you have wow, they want dhamma before. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes you can have some other letters, but they want that. If you have wow, because so it makes it easy, you can prolong, like muslimuna. So you have mu, the u sound, and wow, they're same. So they want to do that. So for the ya, they want kasra. Sometimes they mandate that you have to have a kasra. Sometimes it's not the case. Okay, so here, because we already have a dhamma, we have a wow, we're trying to add wow, and we have a dhamma, so great. And there's nothing to do. So that's what we mean by sound plural. Your mufrad is in safe and sound. You can relax, nobody's harming your mufrad. He's in the safe place. So for example, we can give another example. What is the opposite of Muslim? Mushrik. Mushrikun, and you say mushrikuna. So you say mushrikuna. Right? As you can see, we have our word mushrik exactly the way we had it here. So now we can see if you say mushrikun, and if you stop here, what I'm trying to say, if you pronounce the tanween in the singular, and if you don't pronounce the ending in the plural, you can confuse people if you're not doing the proper prolong, if you're not doing the mad, because here will be mushrikun, here will also be mushrikun, because you're not saying mushrikuna, because you can do that, there's no problem. When you stop, you don't have to pronounce the end haraka, but be careful to make this one long. Mushrikun. Now everybody's clear. You don't have to pronounce mushrikuna. Everybody's clear that you're saying as a plural. Makes sense? We have mu'min. What is mu'min? Mu'minun. And we say mu'minuna. Mu'minuna. Now, of course, I know what's in your mind because I was in the same situation as you guys are. Mu'minuna. When does it work? Does it work all the time? Which are the words it works? Why doesn't it work with everything? All this if then questions, probably going on in your mind. Unfortunately, it doesn't work all the time. Some of them will work, some of them will not work. One important thing you can think about, it will usually work with aqil. What do I mean by that? Something that is intellect. You have a word that means intellect being, then most of the time it will work. Okay, so for example, here we talk about people or jinns or angels, things like that. Even like, for example, mudarris, as you can see, meme is coming a lot here. Mudarris, mudarrisun. What is mudarrisun? Is a teacher. And how do you make it plural? Mudarrisuna. So here you can just add waw and noon to make it into plural. For example, why cannot you say qalam is pen? So someone tell me, just answer yes or no question. Do you think its plural is going to be sound or broken? Okay, so someone has said broken. Why do you think you think it should be broken? Yes, thank you. Because it's not aqil. So what is the plural for qalam? Aqlamun. Aqlamun. Okay. So this is one information you can keep in your mind. Inshallah, it will help you. Make sense? Now, let's talk about how do we deal with our grammar, because remember right now we are learning these things and we're also learning about grammar. So for example, when we talk about broken plural, as you see, when you say kitabun, we say kutubun. Our tanwin is there. Baitun buyutun. Waladun awladun. Asadun usudun. Rajulun rijalun. So looks like the tanwin is in both mufrad, the singular, and also in the plural. Since that's the case, it is grammar is exactly the same as the singular. Meaning what? Meaning whatever we learn, the default of nominative, okay, for nominative is dhamma, for accusative is fatha, and for genitive is kasra. So that is the case. For example, you want to say the houses are big. In the nominative case, you can say al buyutu. See, you're adding dhamma. What am I saying here? Let me see if I can add other teeth here. Yes, al buyut. Then you want to say I saw. You saw something. You saw the houses. So here, if you see something is an object, so you can say buyut. What are you gonna put here? Ta. Al buyuta. And you want to say you are going to houses, for some reason you're going to many houses, right? So you can say ila al buyu, buyuti, just like your singular noun, no problem. So daraba means he hit waladan. So we talked about this one, that the walad here is object. That's why it gets a fatha, right? So now you want to say he hit many boys. This guy, going around and hitting people. So we have daraba, because daraba means he hit. In daraba, we already have a pronoun. We have the subject he. He hit. Now we can say aw la dan. You see, exactly like your singular, without any problem. Make sense? Now the question, of course, comes. Then what about the sound plural? Is it the same case? Well, it's not going to be same case, because you see we're adding a fixed letters. They're kind of fixed, your una. So it's not going to be the same. Now, since you're following dual, that it will be something else. It will be similar to dual. Yes. So this genitive for the sound masculine, for the genitive, for the nominative, accusative, and genitive, we don't use the haraka. Rather, we use things that we add. So what we can say is, for the nominative case would be your una. So mostly muna. So this thing that we added una, this one represents the nominative case, your dhamma, so to speak. This is a replacement for dhamma. So then how do we say something in the accusative or genitive? So for the accusative, we say, instead of wow and noon, here we added wow and noon. I'm using so many colors, right, guys? Just to make your life easier by making my life difficult. Wow and noon. And for accusative, you add ya and noon. Now, you might be scratching your head. I don't know if you guys scratch your head or not. I always think you guys are. So you're thinking, subhanAllah, we had ya and noon in the dual as well, right? Kitabani, kitabaini, ya and noon. So be careful here. Be very, very careful. The other one was aini. Here it is ina. So whatever comes before will get a kasra. The other one, whatever had before, will get a fatha, and then you will have kasra on the noon. Okay, so inshallah, we'll compare the two later. So here it will be ina. So what do we say? We say muslimina. That is how we do it. Muslimuna, muslimina. So now you can say, right now, if I give you a verb, just think about vocabs. Don't think about verbs, no, just think about vocabs. Ra'aitu means I saw. Just think about that. Ra'aitu means I saw. So if you see something, of course, that would be an object. I saw a man, the man is object. So now you want to say, I saw Muslims, So you cannot say Ra'aitu Muslimuna. You cannot say that, because Muslimuna, this form is for nominative. It's for the subject, not for the object. For the object, you will have to say muslimina. Okay, because we're not doing the verbs, so I understand that that's not a problem, but we kind of talked about enough, so at least you understand the concept. Is it clear? So you say Ra'aytu muslimina. So I saw Muslims. Now, how do we say then in the genitive case? So now you want to say in the genitive, for the genitive case, it is just like what we said in the dual. Yes, exactly. It will be exactly same thing. Bottom line is whatever we have for accusative, it will be for the genitive. So obviously, as you can see, you have to kind of make sure you understand the sounds, and also you can differentiate between the dual. So here it will be the same thing. Ina. Make sense? So here you'll also say muslimina. So what I'll do is muslimina. I will complete the sound plurals, all the plurals today, and then inshallah next week we will do a lot of examples. So what is the sound plural for the feminine then? So obviously, since we're talking about sound plural, we're thinking about the concept that it might be something that we just add to the singular. Yes, that is the case. Okay, so that is the case. And what do we add? The thing that we add is alif and ta. Okay, alif and ta. Sounds very simple, right? Now, what kind of word you think you should add alif and ta? The alif and ta is more simple and easy. Any word that is feminine, think right now, just simple way, think about that if it has ta marbuta, ends in ta marbuta, then you can make it into plural by adding alif and ta. And here it really doesn't have to be aqil or ghair aqil. You have a word that you know is feminine, and the best way to know if it's feminine or not, which we studied, that it ends in ta marbuta, you can simply add alif and ta to make it into sound plural. So let's see some example, of course. So we have Muslim. How do you say female Muslim? Now, is it gonna work? First of all, it has to be female. So this belongs to the sound plural, which we have talked about. So what do we want? We want Muslima. Why? Because this is feminine, Muslimatun. So this is a female Muslim. So can we make it into a plural just by adding alif and ta? Yes, you can. So here you simply add alif and ta to make it into plural. So you say Muslimatun. But what you have to do is you have to remove the ta marbuta. This is the condition. You have to remove the ta marbuta. You cannot have ta marbuta and then add alif and ta. Okay, so this is the main thing that you need to know. Anytime you add alif ta for the feminine plural, you need to remove ta marbuta. You cannot say muslimatatun. Sounds weird, and also it doesn't also make sense, because I explained to you before, I don't know which class, that this ta marbuta means, because the word was Muslim, right? The word was Muslimun, and the ta marbuta meant to make it into feminine. Here is also to make it into feminine. It doesn't make sense to use two signs, say something is feminine. So this is how they see it. Makes sense? Okay, so here's another one she gave. Sayyara. What is sayyara? Yeah, sayyara is car. In the Quran, it comes as a caravan or the group of people. Okay, caravan, group of people. Yes, thanks. Sayyaratun. Yes, I definitely means sayyaratun. Excellent. Is it something that I can just add alif and ta? Yes, you can. You can simply add alif and ta. You can add alif and ta whether it's aqil, intellect, or non-intellect. But now, of course, you have to remember, we remove the ta marbuta. So it says sayyaratun. You cannot say sayyaratatun. That is not good. And also something that I explained to you before, now you can also see what's going on. If you are not pronouncing this haraka properly, if you're not doing the mad, then you can still make this kind of confusion. If he says sayyaratun here, sayyaratun, and you also say sayyaratun, well, if somebody hears it, they will think you're talking about one car. That's why you have to say sayyaratun. Okay, this is very important. And you know the rules of the tamarbuta. You know, if you're stop, you don't have you just pronounce the ha, sayyara. But here, if you stop, you say sayyarat. Make sense? So this is how we make a sound plural for feminine. Very simple. You have tamarbuta. You can, if you can spot tamarbuta, I spot tamarbuta. Ayatun. Can I add alif and ta to make verses? Yes, you can. Your life is simple. Ayatun. See? Very, very simple. Another thing I have to mention is what I'm going to mention just by giving one example. And I also have to fix something what I said. So how do you say tree? Yes, shajaratun. Shajaratun. Now you want to say trees. Can I add alif and ta? Well, I see a ta marbuta. Yes, you can add alif and ta, no problem. So it would be shajaratun. Okay, this is fine. But sometimes what you'll find, some plurals, they have their broken plural and they also have their sound plurals. In that case, there are rules, but by simple way I'm explaining. In that case, it is preferred to use the broken plural. I'm saying it very simple way. This word has broken plural also, which is ashjar. Ashjar. Make sense, guys? So we have this situation. Now the question comes, of course, we have to wrap up with what? How do we deal with these states? And this is where I said something wrong that I have to correct also. What I said is that when you have tanween, it would be your default, right? Fatha, dam, and kasra. This is not true. And you will see the sound feminine is a little bit interesting. So what we do for the nominative case, when you want to use the word in a subject or predicate, yes, you add alif and ta. For example, we have muslimatun. Simple. What did I write? My lam is missing. Muslimatun. Okay. This is how we do in the nominative case. Simple. And as you can see, this is also similar to what we had for the mufrad, for the singular. Muslimun, waladun, kitabun. This tanween of dhamma. Basically dhamma. Don't worry about tanween, just dhamma. Tanween goes away when you add alif lam. If you say al-muslim, al-muslima, you cannot say tanween. Tanween will always go away when you have alif lam. Okay, so you have alif lam, you cannot say tanween anymore. You have to say al-muslimatu. How do we say in I'm going to skip the middle one, and you probably know why. Maybe something fishy is going to happen in the accusative case. Yes. In the genitive case, is the same thing that what we do with any other word. Kitabun, kitabin. So here will be muslimatin. Okay. Muslimatin. Or you can say al-muslimati. Okay, just like your normal situation, the asal, the default. Genitive is always kasra. You're getting your kasra. Now, then what do we do in the accusative? For the accusative, you do what? Exactly the same thing. You add kasra. And that usually takes time to swallow because it is kind of weird and it also becomes confusing sometimes. Here you will say muslimatin as well. Al muslimati. Makes sense? Guys, these are rules. Rules are meant to first memorize them, swallow them, and then you have to practice. That's what it is. So memorization has to be there. It's something that you just have to know. So now you can say, for example, you say, I saw female Muslims. You can say, Ra'aitu Musli Oh, you want that, right? You will never find this situation. This word doesn't exist in Arabic. There's no way you have alif and ta with fatha. It will be muslimatin. And you also say ila muslimatin. This is fine. This is something, alhamdulillah, you like. You're so happy. You see ila, you see kasra. Life is beautiful. So this is something that you have to understand. So as you can see, guys, we have to do practice, right? So inshallah, next week we will do lots of reading and practicing because we will be doing review of all the plurals, meaning all the numbers, the duals, the broken plurals, the sound masculine, the sound feminine. We will do, we'll go back to the books, we'll read some of the ayahs. So right now, I think I've given you two chapters. Let me quickly show you where we are, and then inshallah we will wrap up. So unit number 5 and number 6. Remember, don't think we're in unit number 5 and 6 because we have done other units. We have done, I think, unit number 10 or something else, right? So we're not following the book in terms of the way it's organized. Next time we will cover, we'll go through these chapters.